Hi, this is Michelle with Simplyscape Handmade, and today we're basting our spring picnic quilt. As you can see, I have my supplies ready to go, some pins with the tool that helps to secure them, some straight pins to help secure the quilt in place while I work, and a pair of scissors in case I need to snip a few threads or make some adjustments. Before we get started basting, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that your backing has been pressed neatly and is wrinkle free. And then you also want to press the quilt top itself. If you're batting, here I'm using a batting that is a very gentle, it's called Warm and Natural. And to get the creases out of it, I simply tossed it in the dryer for a few seconds on a nice air dry and just let it tumble a few times to get some of those wrinkles out. So the back of my quilt has been pressed, and I did recently try hand quilting with fabric that had been starched, and I didn't have any problems with it. So if you want to starch your fabric, that's fine. Whether you're hand quilting or machine quilting your quilt, starching it and pressing it doesn't seem to have any problems. Alright, now as we notice, we've got the backing, and the back fabric is right side down, and then we have our batting, and I have given myself a few inches of wiggle room here at the end. So when I prepared my pieces, I made sure that the back of the fabric, the backing fabric, and this batting were bigger than the quilt top. And the reason for that is that a lot of times as we're quilting and working on this quilt, we may shift or wiggle and adjust. And if they're the same length, you might end up that your backing is underneath here and you have some excess space. So always give yourself a little bit of extra room on the edges. And that rule applies whether you're hand quilting or machine quilting. You really just need that little extra space on the edge. Another thing I'm going to show you is, and this is not common to most quilt people, but I'm on a bed. I'm not on the floor. I'm not at a kitchen table or a specialized cutting table. I really just don't have the room for that in my house. So this is a bed, and I've taken my cutting mat, my self-healing cutting mat, and placed it underneath of my quilt top. Now you'll notice that my quilt is not the same size as my mat. And what I do is I start with my mat placed as close to where it's in the center, and then I lay out my fabrics and I smooth them from the center out. And what I'll do is, as I work a section, I will take that ceiling mat, you can hear it underneath there, and I will slide it down where I'm working so that I have that hard surface underneath of my quilt and I'm not poking into it, the bed over here. Now, one thing I will say, these straight pins, in order to keep my pieces nice, I am constantly working from that middle and I'm smoothing to the edge. If you feel that you need to stretch your fabrics a little bit, you can pull this out here, and since this is a soft bed underneath, you can kind of pin that batting down into the bed, and that will hold the batting and the backing down, and then you're just pinning and smoothing that top out. Now, when I quilt from the center to the edge. When I baste from the center to the edge. And basically, I'm going to step back so you can see the quilt. I break it up into quadrants. So where you see the center of the quilt right here, I will start in the middle. I will baste this direction about every hand width apart. I will put a pin. And then I will work my way down to the edge, and I will baste this section. The next thing I will do is move over here and work from that center to the edge, and then from that center down. And I'll do the same thing on all four sides. Every quilt, no matter what size I work with, I always start in the middle, and as I'm working, I'm taking my hand and I'm smoothing that fabric out to make sure there's no wrinkles in the top, there's no wrinkles in the batting, and there's no wrinkles in the back. Now, what you can do when you finish a section is just flip the quilt over and look and make sure you don't have a wrinkle, you don't have a pleat, you don't have a kink. If you do, then quickly correct it and move from there. So that's my method. My previous quilt basting tutorial will be at the bottom of this video in case you want to review and actually see me baste a quilt. But just a quick reminder, make sure that you have pressed all of the pieces, you've worked the wrinkles out of your batting, and that you're on a surface that you're comfortable to work with. Now, you can't really pin this quilt with the soft side of the bed under here, because what you're going to do is you're going to catch that bedding and you'll end up pinning it to the bed that's underneath. So make sure you have something to work on. If I had floor space, believe me, I would be doing this on the floor, and a lot of my very large quilts are basted laying them on the floor and I'm crawling all over them. But for this one, and for ones that will fit on the bed, I simply put my mat underneath and I slide it around as I'm working. I hope this has helped you out and that you're getting ready to baste your quilt as well. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box and I'd be happy to answer them for you.